Hey everyone, welcome back to DemPod, where every episode we focus on a different topic that is relevant for young podcasters trying to make their voices heard. My name is Kenan, and today we're going to focus on something about critical to podcasting: editing. We will say it's nearly impossible to sit at a microphone and talk for 30 minutes without there being some unwanted noises or some mumbled words. Plus, you may want to add some sound effects or even a personalized intro to your podcast. Editing is even more important when the podcasts get more complex, such as an interview with someone else. The goal of editing is to create a high-quality episode that will captivate your listeners so that they listen to the entire episode and remember the story you want to tell. While there are many different programs or digital audio workstation you can use for editing, we're going to keep this high level and discuss the general steps for editing a podcast. So, let's dive in. Before you start manipulating the audio, there are a few quick steps you need to take. First thing first, you need to import all the audio you have from your podcast. This could be a single track or a multiple if you conducted an interview or have an intro-outro, for example. Make sure it is an audio format that does not lose any sound, such as WAV. Then think about the story you want to tell with this podcast episode. How long do you want it to be? What is the main topic of the episode? What is the story I want to tell? And what do I want the audience to take away from this? These questions will guide you as you do determine which audio to keep and which to cut, as well to figure out any sound effects that you may want to add. You may want to listen to your entire audio once through while thinking about these questions and make some notes of what you want to change. Your edit will also likely have a tool to get rid of any background noises or distortions. After getting all your audio in one place, you're now ready to start the technical and creative process of editing. Keeping in mind your desired length and story, it's now time to start cutting. To start, you'll want to go through your podcast again and cut any material that does not contribute to the story you want to tell. For example, if you're interviewing a local environmental activist about recycling initiatives in your community, you may want to cut any rambling sentences or sections that are not relevant to the topic at hand, such as any chit-chat at the start where you're just getting to know each other. Use your discretion here. And keep going back to some of the questions we talked about earlier, especially what is the story I want to tell? This is probably the most important part of editing process and the most difficult. Once you got in the relevant audio, it's time to look for any unwanted noises, such as sneezing, lots of or long pauses. However, you want to be sure that the podcast sounds natural, so use your discretion. Now that you got the basic audio you're going to use, it's time to consider adding some sound effect or music to enhance the story you're trying to tell and keep your listeners engaged. Think about the mood you want to convey. Is it a serious or light-hearted podcast? What do you want your listeners to feel after they're done with the episode? This will guide the sounds you choose to add. If this sounds daunting, try to re-listen to some of your favorite podcasters and pay attention to the sounds they use to get inspired. Or simply listen to some of your favorite movie soundtracks and think about how they make you feel. Whatever sound you choose to add though, make sure they're reality-free. Perhaps an easier way to start adding in sounds is with intro and outro. These are sounds that you play at the start or end of each of your podcast episodes. They don't have to be difficult or complicated. Again, get some inspiration from some of your favorite podcasters and think about the mood or tone they're trying to convey with them. Once you added all the extra sounds you want, it's time to mix and master. Mixing simply refers to making sure that all the different audio tracks in a podcast are set at the same volume. It's also important to make sure that none of the sounds overpower one another and that they are all fit together nicely. Think of it this way. When a listener listens to your podcast, they should not have to adjust their volume button when different people speak. Mixing may involve tasks such as improving the balance of frequencies through the episode, known as equalization, and reducing the range of sounds in your podcast, known as compression. Once you have completed mixing, it's time to proceed to mastering, which means listening to the episode you have edited once again and identifying any last changes you want or any problems you might have missed. You have now successfully edited your podcast and can start preparing for its distribution. Wow, we covered a lot today, so let's recap. In short, editing a podcast refers to transforming the raw recorded audio in a high quality and cohesive finished episode. This starts with gathering the audio you have recorded, saving it as WAV, and then thinking through the story you want to tell and the message you want to convey. You can then start the process of going through the podcast and cleaning up any background noises, trimming content, and removing unwanted sounds. Then, you can add in any relevant music or sound effects based on the type of podcast you're creating, and then finishing with the mixing and mastering. Et voila! You have a podcast that's fully ready for distribution. And that's all for today, everyone. Thank you for turning again into DemPod. We would love to hear from you on your experience with editing your podcast. What challenges have you faced? What types of sound or music did you add in? Did you make any catchy intro or outro? Drop us an email or comment on our social media, and as always, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your family friends. If you like this episode, until next time, see you.